Hello BookTube. Recently, Katie Books has been working on a triptych of 10 classics you must read. The first one consists of classics from 2300 BC BCE to 1899 AD CE. The second one, modern classics, encompass the 20th century, 1900 to 1999, and the third one, contemporary classics, which go from 2000 to basically 2022. A number of booktubers have commented or added to these lists. Steve Donahue has done some wonderful reaction videos and his own lists. And I've done some myself. And so I've done two previous ones, one that covered 2300 BCE to 1899 CE, and and I just did earlier today, one that covered 1900 to 1999. Now, as I was thinking about the contemporary classics, the 21st century, I struggled with coming up with 10 books that I think you must read, or 10 works. And watching Steve's video, a number of the ones that he had on his list, I've bailed on. And that got me thinking, maybe instead of doing 10 contemporary classics you must read, I should do a 10 contemporary classics I must bail redeem. Lately, I have been devoting a part of my December reading to bail redemptions. So I bail heavily for any number of reasons. And sometimes I want to revisit those works, what I call bail redemptions. And sometimes those bail redemptions work, and I love the book a book I had previously bailed on, and sometimes, more often, I continue to bail. Sometimes I only need like a second look at first bail redemption. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 or more to work, or for me to finally say, okay, I'm done with this. So I decided to come up with a list of 10 contemporary classics, or works that I think might possibly be classics, or candidates, I guess, that I have bailed on. So are these 10 contemporary classics I must bail redeem? A new booktube, let's get going. So I'll start with the 3 from Steve's list that I have bailed on, and then I'll go from there. So at number 1, I have The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay by Michael Chabon. This is a novel about comic books, about the early years of comic books. It's about a Jewish American and his Eastern European cousin who create a superhero fairly similar to Batman, and how this character takes off and makes them a success, and it goes through to the history of comic books in the mid century. I read it shortly after the paperback came out in about 2001. So it'd been like the fall of 2001 to maybe spring of 2001, but certainly it was either 2001 or early 2022. Not 2022, 2002. Sorry about that. And I liked what I read up until a certain moment in the book, a turn in the book. So Clay is gay, and he has a relationship with a young actor, radio actor, who voices his and Cavalier's character, the escapist. And the two go to a party with other gay men, and the party's busted by the police. And in the aftermath, Clay manages to hide, and he escapes. Although he is assaulted during that, before his escape, and it ruins the relationship. And Clay eventually marries the girlfriend of Kavalier, and I know it's historically accurate, or I mean, it happened in history, but as a young 18-year-old gay kid, it really ticked me off. And it sort of, I bailed from there. I did kind of skim the rest of the book, but I have wanted to come back to it for years. And I did pick up the book a few months ago, so I'm hoping to get to it at some point, because obviously I have it, so I will get to it. Next up is White Teeth by Zadie Smith. This is a novel set in the United Kingdom that deals with several generations of the immigrant experience, both first-generation immigrants as well as second-generation immigrants. And I read it in, I want to say sometime in 2003, 2004, maybe as late as 2005. I know it was after the miniseries adaptation came out, because it aired on PBS, and I was especially attracted to it because one of the stars was James McAvoy, who was also in Children of Dune. And I had a crush on James McAvoy at the time, so it kind of piqued my interest for the novel. And I didn't last all that long. I think I kind of grew a little bit bored with it. But I mean, it's been a long time since I had to go at it, so I don't quite remember. Next is Duck's Newburyport by Lucy Ellman. This is a massive novel about a woman baking pies. And I read it in 2019, maybe early 2020, because I think it was one of the last times my mom went to her podiatrist. And I took it with me because I checked it out from the library, and I was bored. I was very bored by it. So I kind of bailed on it. So I'm kind of wanting to have another go at it. And maybe now that I've myself have gotten more into baking pies, although I'm not very good at it right now, I will improve the more pies I bake. But maybe I should give Duck's Newburyport another go. Moving away from Steve's list, because I think the rest of them I hadn't read, and I have absolutely no experience of anything Kieran mentioned in his video. So the rest of these are my own insertions. Now, whether or not any of them or in any way, shape, or form candidates for being contemporary classics, your mileage will vary. So next up is Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer. This is a novel about a young man whose ancestors fled Eastern Europe during World War II, and he has returned to sort of look around to discover the family heritage. And he meets up with a local tour guide or something. I read it in the airport in San Francisco, and I was bored. Um, so yeah. Next is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is a seminal work of steampunk and historical fantasy. It's about an alternate United Kingdom which is magical. There are practicing magicians who actually have magical powers. There are fairies. And I read it years ago and I kind of lost interest in it rather rapidly. Next is The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. This is a historical novel set in New Zealand in the 19th century. And again, I built on it relatively quickly. I thought it was a bit boring at the time. I also very quickly bailed on A Brief History of Seven Killings by Marlon James. This is a novel set in Jamaica around the time of an assassination attempt on Bob Marley. And I kind of read it and was rather maybe off-put by the beginning. But I've often thought about coming back to both A Brief History of Seven Killings and The Luminaries. I have both in my book depository wish list, and they've been on there for a while. So definitely probably should make a decision about those two. At number 8, I have The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. This is a novel from 2000 in which she won her first Booker, I think. And it's about two sisters, both of whom wrote science fiction, or maybe just the one. And then the other one stole it or something. I don't know. It's been almost 20 years since I bailed on it, so I don't remember. Anyway, but I have a weird reading history with Margaret Atwood. I like her novel, The Robber Bride. I read it a few times and I quite like it. And I also rather liked Wilderness Tips, her short story collection. But everything else by her I have struggled with. I basically bounced off of The Handmaid's Tale so hard it was hilarious. I mean, I have mentioned several times I despise dystopic fiction. So, but yeah, and then I have struggled mightily. I mean, I think I've given Cat's Eye 3, 4 bill redemptions. And I'm still kind of thinking about maybe giving it a 5th at some point. I don't know. So should I give The Blind Assassin another go? Should I give Cat's Eye a 500th go? At number 9 is Lincoln and the Bardo by George Saunders. This is a novel about Abraham Lincoln, who is coming to terms with the death of his youngest son, and he does this by discovering a liminal space between the living and the dead. I very quickly bailed on it when I had to go at it a few years ago, and yeah, although I haven't really particularly connected to George Saunders' work, I think I've read, or at least I've had to go at one of his short story collections and didn't particularly care for that one either. And then at number 10, The Overstory by Richard Powers. I think this is his like a family saga with very heavy environmental themes that I bailed on incredibly quickly. I did not connect to it at all. So of these 10, must I bail redeem them? I leave it to you in the comments to argue yay or nay. So anyway, book 2, that's all I've got for today. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow with a few tag videos because there are quite a few tag videos I want to do, and maybe some other videos, and then I'll see, depending on circumstances and how long exactly it takes me to finish Ravenna, when I do weekly reads. So until I see you next time, BookTube, thank you, have a great evening, and stay safe, and stay warm.